Hello everyone, it's Christine here and I am back for Roxy's Journal of Stitchery, where I am working on the May prompt, which is a box, a slow stitch box. This is my very miniature version prototype of what I'm making, which is a box with 4 sides, so 2 sides like this, 2 rectangular sides, a base and a roof. At this stage I'm just working on the walls. Working as fast as I can because I know some of you are following along and also making your own box, but I do also want to take my time and keep the whole slow stitching ethos with it. So since the last episode I have finished off wall 1. I can't remember if I had finished that in the episode or if we were just working on stitching that together with lots and lots of little miniature hexies. So I'll link back to the previous episodes of this series in case you haven't caught it. And then I have created the second wall, which is the wall with the pointy roofy bit. Now the sun is shining through the window. I think I've put up a cover so you won't be able to have it on you on the the bench where you're looking, but it's shining on me, making me nice and warm, which is lovely here in autumn in Australia. And so this piece will cover this end of the house. Now I've made this using a different technique, and I thought I'd start by showing you how I've pieced the hexies for this one. I'm not sure when you look at them if you can see the difference. You can definitely see a difference in texture, and I have actually backed this one with a fabric, which I will explain shortly as well. This one is just the hexies all stitched together. This was a pretty quick method to get them together, and I will show you, and I think it definitely will have its future purposes. Whether I do another one like this for this piece, I am not sure, and I'll explain my reasoning why. And then once I've shown you that method, I'll come back and show you how I'm putting together the first wall. I just wanted to show you, do some of the stitching, but show you before I finished it off so you can kind of see the steps in the process to basically get the wall. I'll explain what I've done on the inside piece as well. And then I thought we'd spend some time creating some extra vines going up this piece, which is I think what I'll do on the ends of the houses, have vines growing up. On the front of the house, I am thinking that I will put a little brown door, and I think I'll tea dye these to just get them to be less white and have them as little windows as well. I'll probably wait to stitch these on until the wall is all sewn together, just to I just want to kind of position them exactly and be sure that I do want to put them on, or whether I want to do the windows slightly differently or just have a door. So that might be something I do once I'm kind of seeing how it all works. I think I'll be able to still stitch them on because there's enough layers of fabric between the felt and the fabric that I can stitch into. So first up, these hexies have been created with the glue basting method using Yoo-Hoo glue, and then they've been put onto a piece of Steamer Seam Light, which is what the collage quilter, who's another YouTuber, it's what she uses for her collage quilts. So it's a double-sided adhesive interfacing, I guess. It's just a layer really of an adhesive, and it's activated when you iron it. So you can actually use the surface, and you'll see this in a moment. It's semi-sticky. It's not like super sticky, but if you put a piece of fabric on it, the fabric will stay stuck, but it's very easy to peel the fabric off. But once you apply the heat, then you activate it. So I'll show you the process because it's easier than explaining it. And I'll show you how I just was going basically straight from creating my little hexies with the glue through to putting them on the paper. So I've just grabbed out some of the lovely little bits of fabric I got in one of my recent stashes from Melanie at Purveyor of Reclaimed Textiles. I'll grab some of my little hexie. In fact, I really only need one with this method because I basically create one and then stick it and then create another one using that same template. I'll grab one of my glues. So, template. I thought for a moment I had lost my template. Now, where are my good scissors hiding? Where are you, scissors? There you are, over here. Under a pile of fabrics and laces that I was playing with for the door and embellishments. So I even found that I didn't even need to cut round and have them at anything more than just a square shape. So that was a time saving as well. And yeah, previously I've been using my little charm squares. So really that's the size I kind of, yeah, will need for these. And then all I do, hopefully I'm on camera, yes. All I do is put the glue around the outside. Put my little template on. It's covered still with the glue from the previous gluings. This has a bit more fabric than I have been using with the charm squares, but it will still work for what I want. And then I get my iron, so this iron I've got warmed next to me, and I'm working on my little ironing board surface. And I make sure that it gets a good amount of ironing to make sure the creases are nicely well placed. And then, without even letting it set, I then fold it back out. Peel out my template. The folds are all in there already. So I just let them fold where they've already been sort of ironed into place. I then give it another iron. And then I've got my little hexie. And I can pop that onto my template. So I might put that one in the middle actually and have the other hexies around it. So I'll just get a little hexie flower made up so you can see the process a few times over. So yeah, I probably don't even need that much fabric around it. Oops. We can just take the hexie template off because I'm really just cutting a square. Getting my Yoo-hoo glue. And the great thing is you're not actually touching your Yoo-hoo, but I have got my little rag here because invariably I'm sure I will get somewhat sticky fingers. And depending if you were working with bigger templates, you wouldn't even necessarily need to use the glue. It's just because this is such a small template, it just helps to keep busy. If you're trying to iron the edges without the glue holding it in place, you'd probably end up burning your fingers because you'd be holding onto it. So I'm just checking my iron is fully, yep, it's fully plugged in. Just didn't feel, and that feels warm. Probably just was, yeah, not fully warmed before. This time it actually feels like it's dried the glue a smidge more. Peel that piece off. Usually you can just sort of pop it out with some of the bits still folded over, like that. So let all the folds go where they were, in the order that they were. Then give it another iron. So these little flower ones, sorry, these fabrics aren't for this particular piece that I'm working on, but it's always handy to have a little flower. And I think this particular technique is probably even better for something that's just going to be a little surface embellishment rather than something that might be bending around a piece. And I'll show you in a moment when we're finished why I say that. But I do like finding a new technique, and I know some of you, like, it can be hard, yeah, doing lots and lots of stitching. If you've got arthritis or anything like that, it can be tricky. So this just might be an option for those that are struggling with the stitching or just want a quicker technique. I wouldn't use this technique if I was making a quilt, for example. Something that's going to have a bit of, yeah, flex in it, I wouldn't do it. But for a quick little embellishment, I think it's a great little one. Sorry, I hope you can see what I'm doing there. So I'm just lining them up and they are just sticking down. The great thing is you can fully move them around. That's the benefit of this particular steamer seam. On my glue paper, I should probably just be ironing on the actual ironing board. Another little one done. Another square out of this. Yeah, 3 more that I need. Where's my template hiding? You'll be able to see my template. I can't see my template. I've probably flicked it off somewhere, so no, not under there. Don't know. We'll just grab another template. But yeah, the great thing with this method is all you need is the one template, because you're just doing each one as you go. Because you don't actually want the glue to be sort of fully setting, and you can just play with the temperature that your iron is. You don't have to have it on its hottest setting. I have got it on its hottest just to make sure I get a nice quick finish. The main thing I think is yeah, ironing on the back, because that's where the little sort of fold over seams are. So usually I just open up sort of three sides and then sort of pull the template out. And then I just follow around in the order that it was folded, because that's the order that it really wants to kind of then go back in place. And if for some reason it's not sort of coming together, you can always just, yeah, refold and re-iron it at that point. Put that one over there. So in the next episode after today, I might come back and start on the clamshell roof, even if I'm still working on the other walls, because that way, if you are wanting to follow along with that, you'll be able to do that too. I do like my projects to sort of last the month, so I don't rush them through and get them done in a day. But I know others might have their own process, and yeah, each to their own. I love the diversity. We're all different folks. Just like when I shared my little friction experiment, there's some that feel very strongly, yep, friction's a no-go, and totally respect that. I do find them a useful tool, so I just wanted to, test for my own purposes, particularly for my my perpetual calendar, how it would go. And so I do feel very safe, continuing on with my perpetual calendar. Now on this one, I just don't feel that I've got the creases quite creasy enough, so I'm just going to quickly pop this back in and give it another iron. So I was feeling a bit lost as I was trying to put the pieces down. They just weren't sufficiently creasified. Hopefully this time will be a bit better. Maybe I didn't even iron it the other time. The glue felt a bit more gluey. Maybe I was too busy talking to you about friction markers. See, this time, much better. It's all just falling into place. And the great thing about these little Epiflex plastic templates is that they can be ironed. They've got no issues with heat being applied to them. Just need to probably position these a little bit at the end just to make sure they all come together properly. Get rid of that little hairy bit. Problem is when you do get a bit of yoo-hoo on your fingers, it wants to grab every thread and thing passing by. So I'll just put my glue away. Just make sure you've got all of them just nicely meeting up. Then I will just grab my non-fabric scissors and I'll just cut around just so I'm angling the scissors a smidge in. Not cutting the fabric, just cutting the underlying steamer seam interfacing. But essentially you wouldn't even have to use the steamer seam. You could use this technique and use something like a yoo-hoo glue and then just put in a few holding stitches as well. And it'd be great if you were planning to do some decorative stitching over the top also. So I've trimmed around it. Let me just put my Epiflex template out of the way. Then you want to apply with a good heat and all over. Even though it's called steamer seam, you don't use steam, which is weird. And so the heat will activate it and it will form a bond onto the templates, and I can also do it this way. You don't want to put the iron directly onto the actual steamer seam sticky sort of layer because that will create a mess on your iron. So these have now all bonded on, and if I want to put them onto a piece of fabric, all I do is peel off the backing. And as you can see, oops, no, that one hasn't fully activated on. Hang on. Let's just make sure we've got our, and I think actually I probably need to let it, before I peel, I think I need to let it cool down. That was probably the problem there. But let's just reactivate that. And I'll let that now cool down, but basically that has adhered all of that, and if I did want to then put it onto another piece of fabric, all I would do is peel off the backing, put it onto the fabric that I want it to decorate, and then iron over the front and over the back, and you'd have just a really quick little little hexie triangle. Now the one thing to note is you do get slightly more gap between the pieces, and that's the reason why I suggest it for sort of small scale things like the flowers. It's going to be fine on this. All I've had to do though is put some little stitches in, particularly where it's going to be bending around in my piece, because on the side where I haven't done that, you can see they're just sort of gaping up a tiny little bit. So I'm just going to go down and put some further stitches down here before I finish this off, and I'm also stitching into it. So as you can see, it's just not all joined together. It's more like little bricks with mortar in between them. So kind of perfect for this project. And so yeah, I may well decide to do that for the other walls. Might have one wall done in the traditional one, and then I might do maybe the two ends. I don't know. It is just a slightly quicker method. Or I might try one where I actually use my Yoo-hoo glue to affix them on, and then maybe do some stitching. Not sure. I can turn my iron off, I think. I'll put my little flower aside, and I can think whether I've got something I want to affix that onto. Put my fabrics back over here. Sorry, just bumped you. Yeah, so using it on a flat surface, something you're just going to put it onto if it was like a book cover, but you're not bending it around. If you are wanting to bend around, I think definitely doing your stitching of your hexies that way. So before we get on to doing our decorative stitching, I'll just show you how I'm now putting together this wall piece. So what I did with my inner fabric, which is going to be the inside of the box, I've used some vintage crochet thread. It is an old anchor in this beautiful goldy sort of goldy colour. Quite an intense off white really, but almost sort of goldy toned, but goes really well, a sort of goldy bronzy colour, I guess. And I've used that to do French knots, and I've done the French knots with 2 twists of the thread around the needle, and then just taking it through to the back. And when I was doing that, if you've seen the previous video, I mounted this fabric onto a single piece of felt. You can see that there. So I was stitching in through the fabric and the felt, and then I've now affixed the fabric with its felt layer and folded the sides over. So what I did for this step was took my fabric, put a fold in, and then folded it over like that at each of the sides, so you don't have a raw edge. We're still going to be putting our hexies over here anyway, so it doesn't matter. It just gives it a bit of extra stability and means that it's not going to fray. It should be very sturdy and last over time. So I'm now just working my way around and putting stitches in. I did use a bit of Yoo-hoo glue when I put it on, just to hold it in place while I did all the stitching. Again, the Yoo-hoo's very flexible. It doesn't create any issues. As you can see on this one, which did have the Yoo-hoo used on the hexies, it's totally flexible. So we'll just finish doing the stitching here, and then I can show you how I'm going to put the hexies onto it. And then we can move on and do some decorative stitching. So I hope you did enjoy it, just seeing a different method for your English paper piecing. I do have a roll of the steamer seam, so it's good to find little uses for it. Just be careful, not to get the iron onto it. When I was doing my whole wall, I did actually get the iron on it at one point, and then I had sort of stuff I needed to clean off the iron, and then I had a bit of a gap in my little sheet that I was sticking my hexies onto that I had to cut another piece and sit it there. So at this end, I'll just need to angle it in a smidgeroo. Just make sure it's properly tucked under here. So yeah, beautiful day here. Blue skies, sun is shining. It's down here working on the house this morning, and then brought back a set of drawers, and then Alex and I did some work in the garden here. The Vietnamese mint had gone absolutely bananas. It had taken over one whole end of the garden bed, so it was sort of doing a bit of a winter dieback anyway, so it was a good chance to strip out all the bits that were looking a bit scraggly anyway, and just leave a nice little clump at one end. Unearthed a big pot of rhubarb as well, although that's going in, I think, into its dormancy stage. The rhubarb crown just stays in the pot, so I said, Alex, make sure you don't throw that one out. Sometimes he gets a bit overzealous. I still remember one year I was saving these very special sweet peas, but he just pulled them all out and put them in the green rubbish bin. So I have finished there. I'll just do another knot, and as I say, you won't be seeing inside here. This is just anchoring it nicely. That's why I wasn't worried that these were quite long stitches. It's just because I am stitching into the felt covered, or stitching into the felt on the surface of the cardboard that I've covered. So I'll just secrete the end into the fabric here by passing my needle through and then cutting it off. Right, now we can have a look at how we're going to put this on. I might just give it, I've turned the iron off, but I'll just give this a quick little iron-a-roo. Just to get it looking its best. Actually, I might just turn the iron on. It does just have the little creases where I think I actually had it clipped for a bit of time there. What I'm thinking, so that'll be the inside. Does this have an up or a down? I think that's hard to tell really which way is meant to be the up and the down. Sort of, no, actually going that way. So this way is the up, I think. So that will be the up. These ones I did have an idea. This is the up of this one. And so originally I was thinking that I was going to turn these edges under, which is still a possibility. But the more I thought about it, I thought it might be nice to just have them kind of overlap slightly over, so that at the top you'd see just this little sort of edge overlapping, which would mean, and then at the sides I thought it might be nice to have, kind of a little bit of the brickwork coming round into the inside of the house. Like sometimes you do have those decorative brickworks where some of that's just sort of at the side. So that's my thinking for it. So I do want to just give it a quick iron. Although it probably won't matter where those little side creases are, because that's really kind of where it's probably going to crease over anyway. And then I might just put a bit of my yoo-hoo. Just put a bit along here. Kind of looks globby, but it's fine. It's just because it's on the felt, so it's just sort of globbying up a little bit. But it dries perfectly, not sticky, and not... Now let me just recheck my ups. Nope, that's the up. And this here is the up here. Okay. think it'll be easiest to lay this one down, turn this one over, position it centrally as best as possible. I probably want a tiny bit more at the top than at the bottom, but the sides I want to be pretty even. And then yeah, I reckon that will be good. And so the glue will just help to keep it affixed while we work our way around and put some stitches in. Now I think I might just have a look whether I've got another thread colour that might be just slightly better because this thread will be visible. I do have a thicker burgundy, but no, I don't think that's a go. This one will be pretty perfect actually, this Gutermann one. Turn the iron off again so it's not clicking away. I'm going to use my little face washer that I always bring in with a bit of water on it so that I can clean my hands after using the glue. Also having a sip of water. Some days I just do not drink enough water. I get carried away and then I get to dinner time and I'm quite thirsty and realise, water. And then sometimes that also makes me think I want snacky things rather than actually just recognising it as thirst. In winter I tend to have a fair bit of like herbal tea, so that's okay, but I haven't had any today. So I'll just actually bring my needle through from where it will be then hidden. Hopefully I put enough of a knot in, but I might just do my trick of putting a little holding stitch in to begin. And then I guess I can pull that over. Just try and put a nice little small, sorry, I was just holding it closer to myself because it's just in that rather tricky little bit at the corner where it's tricky to see where I need to. Then I can probably just go up to here. I won't do all of this with you, I just want to sort of show you the method. I've probably got way too much thread. I probably should have gone for a much shorter length, but I'm not going to do it all with you. Maybe I will do that. I'll just shorten my thread down so it's not so ridiculous. And so then I can pass my needle inside the inner fabric. I can always come back and put more stitches, but at the moment I think I'll just do them on the points and in the creases. So then pass my needle inside the fabric again over to this little seam. Oops, and I have unthreaded my needle, but that's okay. Then again, I'll just take it back into the fabric and then pop it out near where I need to do the next stitch. Try not to catch on the corner. Oops. So I'm just picking up a tiny little bit of the hexagon and then just stitching it through once and out. Well, actually I don't even need to go through the hexie twice. I can then just pass it along to here and pop out where I need to catch the seam. Through the seam and then back into, so you can either go through it once or twice. There I did it twice, and then pass it over to where we need to be next. And the good thing is, because the thread matches so well on the interior, you don't really see those little stitches. It's more here. You only want to catch a bit of the hexie. But again, this is the inside of the box, so. But I think it is actually going to look really pretty having the having the little hexies come over. So I'm glad I pondered on that, and yeah, wanted to share that with you. So I know a few of you said even the way that I was approaching the lining of it and using also the extra little bit of felt, that helped you. So yeah, I do like sharing those tips. So I'll finish this off here just so we don't spend our whole time stitching it together, but that should hopefully give you enough of a feel for that. And then I'll just secrete the thread down into the fabric. Just cut it off there, and it can sink back into the fabric. So that is how it will end up looking, and it will just have this nice little line coming over. So when you look down at the box, you'll just see the sort of brickwork coming up and the two bits coming together nicely, which I like. It's almost giving a triangle on this side and a little triangle on the other side. So I think that's going to be a really neat finish, and I'll do the same here at the corners. You'll just need to kind of fold one bit of the corner in and just make yourself a nice little corner. You can almost do a little star potentially there. And so once that's done, and once the other wall's done, then we'll be ready to start putting them together. But it's just going to be, I think, a very just doing some nice little tiny little stitches down, and basically, I mean, obviously this will be covered, but yeah, just putting little stitches down, working out which one you're going to have, whether you're going to have your front wall sitting at the front or inset a little bit from your other wall. I think I'll inset these walls a little bit, as in just have them sitting there rather than having it over the front of it, if you can see that. So that's that. Let's now do our decorative stitching. So I'm using this lovely vintage Mile End crochet cotton. Don't know if that was Bryant, I'm not sure what brand, but it's on a beautiful wooden spool, and it's a really nice olivey greeny colour, probably a bit more than, not quite olive really. And then I'm using, not sure, actually I think this was a cottage garden thread from Gippsland here in Victoria. It's got a lovely variegation of sort of burgundy through to red, and so I'm using that for the rosebuds. So let me get a decent length of that. Grab a needle. Because this has the steamer seam, I sometimes periodically have to sort of clean the needle because it does pick up a little bit of residue from the steamer seam interfacing layer. And yeah, with this one, I put it onto another piece of fabric at the back just to give it stability, and then I cut around and folded in the edges of the backing piece of fabric so they sit behind the hexies, and then I've just put some little extra stitches in just to hold them flat, as I was saying, so that they're not bending, sort of flexing up when I'm folding it over, which is just the additional thing that you need to do. So that's why I'm kind of trading off for bended surfaces. I think I'll probably go back to the traditional stitching method, but very happy that I've given it an experiment. So with the vines, I'd like to have them sort of quite organic. So I think I'll have one twist around over here, and I'm just using a stitch where I am creating and I always forget what this one, even though I did my dictionary of stitches, I forget what this one is called, but it's basically creating a Y. So it might be, is it Y stitch? Fly stitch? I should have my dictionary of stitches out, but I don't. So then coming down, creating the Y, and then putting the next stitch. But I don't want it to look really, And normally you'd bring your needle back and then pop it out like that. So you can do it that way. I've been doing more the stab method where I do it in two motions. So then coming down, taking your needle back through, and then you create the top of your next Y. So you do both sides of your Y, and then yeah, you can angle your needle through. And then I think I'll start to twist this one round soon. Might take it down one more. And then we'll start twisting a little bit. So if you do the fully stab method, rather than angling your needle back through there, you can just hold the end and then just pop up through here. Yes, I think I'll start to angle. Oops, no, I didn't actually go down on that one, did I? Didn't take my thread down. I was just watching the lovely Annie Claxton, who is sharing her vintage stitchery book that she's making as she follows along with and adds her own stitches to the stitch along that I did last year for the Dictionary of Stitches, where I worked through the A to Z of embroidery. And yeah, learned lots of stitches. I've already, as you can see, forgotten the name of some of the ones that I always forget the name of. Coming down, putting the bottom of your Y in place, and then I'll start turning myself a little bit. Just doing the stab method where you're just holding your thread. Coming around. Jennifer Clouston does lovely little stitchy snippety videos. She does beautifully spaced stitching. And she's fun to listen to. Got a lovely quirkiness. Quirkiness is a compliment in my books. I like to think I'm a bit quirky too. Took Travis down to the dog park earlier today. There were lots of people down there, I think, because it's such a nice day. All the dogs always smell that I have treats, so I'm always pretty popular. Not that I give treats to other dogs, because I don't like Travis having treats from anyone other than me, but they all always come around sniffing. Especially the Labradors. They seem to have a second sense for snacks, for food. Speaking of Labradors and food, well, not food, drinks in this case, I was sitting this morning having my coffee and I just had it sort of resting on the end of the couch next to me. Travis brought over his toy slipper. My slipper had finally given up its go, so I gave it to him because he absolutely loves just having a little gnaw on the end of our actual fur slippers. And he brought his slipper that I had given him and sort of pushed it towards me because he wanted me to play, but unfortunately it connected with the coffee cup. Coffee cup went spilling everywhere over the end of the couch, onto the floor next to the couch, onto the little coffee table next to the couch. Oh my goodness, but I'm never angry at Travis. He doesn't have a bone of malice in his body, so you can't be angry. I just went, oh well, Travis, we're going to have to clean it up. Let's clean it up before your dad gets up. Alex was having a bit of a sleep in, and Alex is the tidy one who gets a bit stressed when those sorts of things happen, whereas I was just like, nah, paper towel. And meanwhile, while I was using the paper towel, Travis thought it'd be fun to run off with the paper towel outside. So yeah, it was not pandemonium. It was just a funny morning. You've got to laugh. That's what I said to Travis. He was looking a bit sheepish. I think he thought he was in trouble, and I was like, nah, Travis. Accidents happen. It's what we do about them that matters. Things go wrong in life, and you've just got to roll with it. Work out what your reaction's going to be. And if you can laugh, try and laugh. If you can't laugh, well, try and make the best of it. And that's not to sort of be light about the fact that there's lots of challenges that folks in life face. Lots that people are having to go through at any given time, which is a good reminder as well. Like, you never know what's going on in someone else's life, so try and always treat others with compassion is what I think. Someone might be having a very, very bad day when you've caught them. So what I then like to do when I get to the end is to do some wrapping of the thread. So passing my thread under the stitches, because it just gives you a nice viney look. I mean, it'd be perfectly fine as it is, but this just adds a lovely extra little bit of thickness, but also just a nice texture and a little bit more curving, particularly where you do have curves. If you just have a single stitch, it can sometimes look a little bit too straight at the curve, but this just helps to soften it. It's like a version of whipping. And once I get to the top, then I just take it back in. See how we're going for time. We might do our little French knots next. It's amazing how time flies when I'm having fun with you. Always flies at night as well. Last night I actually managed to get to bed early for once because I actually stayed down on the couch with Travis having cuddles and catching up on my comments. I had a bit of trouble recently for some reason. I just haven't been keeping up with my comments, and I'll always read everything, respond to it. I actually really enjoy the little conversations I have with folks in the comments, so it's something that's important to me, and I wanted to spend some time on that. So I sat on the couch with Travis, had Travis cuddles, and worked my way through my comments. So thank you to everyone that does watch. Thank you to everyone that pops a like. Always nice to have your feedback. And really, really thank you to all that comment. I know when you're watching on the TV, because I was watching Annie as well last night on the TV and couldn't actually comment at that time. So I've gone back to her video to comment today on the iPad. So I think I was actually doing 3 wraps here for the roses. So I'm just coming through with my thread, and this is using all 6 strands of the embroidery thread, and then doing 3 wraps around and then popping it back in. Just using my chenille needle. You can use a needle, generally one that's the same diameter, the same thickness at both ends, so that it's easy to slide the needle through the wrap. And you just hold on to your thread here. I've got a little knot, so I'm going to keep holding while I get my knot hopefully untangled. Not sure what's happening here, so I might need to just let go of my thread for a moment, work out what's going on. Not sure. No, it's an untangle itself, which is good. If you do end up with a knot that's a bit loose, you can always come back up through it and anchor it down just with a stitch sort of through it. So it's not always lost if you end up with a loose French knot. The more you do them, the more they become second nature, but you can still end up with loose ones. And I'm just sort of doing them somewhat randomly spaced down. Probably about every second or third little area down, and just switching sides on them. And like some of them will be more bobbly, like that one's a bit more bobbly than the other ones, and that's good because you want it to look like to look like nature. So yeah, I thought it might be nice to do vines on both ends. I could also use some ribbon embroidery if I wanted to do that, maybe on the other end. I'll see how I go. Do have a lot of ribbons to play with now after not having many, and then I kind of collected up second-hand ones from a range of places. Probably get one more in here. I've still got to do French knots on that bow up there. Get rid of that thready bit. But yeah, it helps to also with this where I have used the steamer seam to join the templates together. The stitching is just helping to hold that together even where it bends around. So that's another thought if you're going to embroider. And I know folks like the lovely Dottie B on her channel, Sally, she's done some embroidery with her hexies on the inside. So if you're doing that as well, that's going to hold it in place. So the steamer seam might be an okay method. It just gives it a little bit more stiffness than, for example, my other one. Okay. What else do I want to show you? I think that's probably enough. We'll just finish doing the rosebuds up there. We've got the time. If you're stitching along, I know some of you say you like the long videos because you can put it on. You've got some company while you stitch, and that's certainly what I like. I like to pop a video on, and then I'm always like, oh, what am I gonna watch next? Who haven't I caught up with? But it's that thing that you've got to put your thread down, then find your next thing to watch. So we can have another few more minutes of time together. I think we're going to have some takeaway tonight, but from the good fish shop. And like last time, we'll get, I think, just some calamari and then get a variety of salads with it, plus a few potato cakes. After busy weeks and cooking each night, it's nice to have a little treat on the weekend. But unless we can take Travis to a restaurant, we prefer to eat at home, because then we get to share the time with him. So there's the 3 wraps and then back into the fabric. I am really enjoying having this ironing board. It's a great surface to actually press the needle into as well, but then just having something that I can so easily have on my desk and iron onto is actually really handy. And I've just put a little tray at the side of the desk, and that's what the iron sits on, which is resting against the boxes that sit at the side of the desk. I'm eventually thinking I'll replace the plastic table that, like, just a Bunnings sort of temporary table that's underneath. I think I might replace it with the kitchen table that's going to be coming back here as I clear out the house that's getting ready for renting. I've just got to do some measurements and work out if that will work, and then that will be another little reorganisation of the craft room. I've got a few other things as well, pieces of furniture to think about whether I bring them back here as well. It's a lovely kitchen cabinet that's sort of quite vintage. I got it secondhand myself. Got a lovely glass and wood white painted top, and then a sort of a buffet base. But I thought that could potentially be good in here. I just again need to do measurements, draw myself a little plan and work it out. Depends whether we can get it up the stairs here. That could be the only challenge. So I won't do it now, but off camera I think I'll do probably another one. I might bring it up like this and maybe have it curl around, just because I don't think I want it total unless I have it come around like that maybe. Yeah, I just want it to look look different and not look like it's symmetrical or not look like it's too perfect. But I think that's going to be really lovely. So by the time we come back next time, I think we'll work on the roof. And then I'll try and get going and get my other 2 walls done and get them all stitched together and get them ready to stitch together with you. So that will be another video. And once we've got the walls together, then we can do the base piece. But the base, I think, will just be a fabric covered piece. I'm not doing hexies for the base. So and the clamshells will be a bit quicker, I think, because they're a bigger piece. So stand by for that for the next video. If you are following along, or if you want to see the next video or my other videos, make sure you click subscribe and click the little bell so you get notified. Thanks again to everyone for your support. Have a lovely weekend. Bye.